Hello. I wanted to talk to you today and welcome to the Public Wants to Know show. This is your host and brother and friend, V. Simpson Turner Jr. And today we're going to begin a series about the importance of voting. And I wanted to begin by saying every American needs to be ready to vote this year in November. It is the most critical period in our history. Our nation is divided. There's violence running rampant throughout our nation and in our cities and states. And we have a person in the White House who is borderline acting as a dictator, and his ideology is tyrannical. So in the democracy, we understand that one of our unalienable rights that's given by God, our Creator, and also as American citizens is the right to vote. And so we all must participate, no matter if you're in the golden years of your ages, if you're in the middle age years, if you are in the millennial years, or if you are just turning 18. Wherever you are in your life, and no matter who you are, you need to exercise your right to vote. Remember in 1965, several courageous people, including former Congressman and Representative, the late John Robert Lewis, led a group of hundreds of people in a march for the right to vote on a time called Bloody Sunday. And they marched so that all people, black and brown and everyone, would have the right to vote. So please exercise that right. Don't do as was done in 2016 when over 2.5 million black and brown people did not vote. And also a sizable portion of Americans did not vote because they listened to the pundits and they listened to those who were in the media who had one candidate so far in advance and so far ahead of the other candidate that people took for granted that that candidate was a shoo-in. And we found out on that night that that was not the case. We know that there are people now that are in the highest levels of government trying to do whatever they can to sabotage this upcoming election. So we need to be proactive. For those of you who live in states where there's early voting, go vote. Vote now. If you have an opportunity, go vote. For those of you who are going to plan to use mail-in ballots, the Postal Service is an outstanding organization that has been functioning and doing well for several years, but there's an attack on the United States Postal Service. So we're not going to blame Postal Service employees. It's coming from the highest level of government that they're attacking it for the purpose of sabotaging the election. So the earliest, and you need to contact your municipal or your town or your city or state government and find out when will they be sending out the mail-in ballots and ask how early can you get them. Ask them if it's possible, especially if you live in a small municipality or a rural area where you could go down and pick up one. Ask for those that live in maybe a larger city if you could go to the Board of Elections or whatever the electoral agency that is in your area and ask if you could go and pick up one to save it from being sent in the mail to you to expedite time if it's all humanly possible and safe. But the purpose that I want to employ to you today, my friend, go vote. Exercise your right to vote. Because when you don't have the right to say anything. I've always said your vote is your voice. Protesting is great, and it's needed, and it has a place in history. Calling your local elected official and complaining about things that are going on is also quite helpful. But nothing compares that when you go and exercise your right as a U.S. citizen and vote your conscience. And we need to change the course of this nation. And the only way we can do it is by going to vote. Go vote, my friend. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching this podcast. This has been the Public Wants to Know show with your host, your friend and brother, V. Simpson Turner Jr., letting you know that this podcast will bring information to you to help all Americans and even those who are not American worldwide to know about the things that are going on and the issues that are happening all around the world and globally. So we thank you again for your time. Thank you again for being with us. Those of you that are on Twitter, you can follow us at DRVSTJR, DRVSTJR. And those of you that are on the gram, it's Dr. V.S. Turner Jr. on the gram. Dr. V.S. Turner Jr. on the gram. And obviously, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which some of you are watching now. It's Dr. V. Simpson Turner Jr. on YouTube. Thank you. And remember, friend, it will get better.